Greetings once again. We connect today to enhance our learning, to further our learnings on our software or a machine anywhere. Today we will be going and spending some time trying to understand something about variables. So we have currently interfaced with only the basic kind of variable which is available inside of a software, but there do exist some more variety of variables also, which we will now go and get ourselves familiarized with. So the first variable that we are going to be going and dealing with is going to be the array variable type. So for the purpose of demonstration of the same, I will proceed to go and click on new task editor, and as usual I'll just go and log in inside our good old task editor where we can go and play with all these aspects of our demonstration. So I'm inside the variable manager and we are going to go and click on add and choose this drop down and choose array, and that brings us to this next category of variables which we can go and familiarize ourselves with, and that is the array type. As you can see, I have already gone and taken this drop down over here and I've chosen array. So array variable it is, and there are a couple of ways in which we can give values to this array variable type, and we will see all the methods possible, as an initialize value being one of them, where we can go and if we wish to we can go and hard code some values directly. So as you can see me, I am going adding some more values over here and going further, proceeding with adding some more values over here. So this is us going and adding some more values to our variables over here, which we just wanted to showcase. So when you're working with the arrays, the key thing over here is that how do we keep a track of the row on which we are currently iterating. So for example, if you look at this array variable, there are the columns, whether they are 2 or 10 or 20, and we have chosen all of them or selectively few of them. When you are iterating over an array, as in going from top to the bottom, the number of columns, the columns will be constant, they do not change, but what changes is the row number. So when I'm on the first row or the second row or the third row, for that reason, how do you identify which row you are currently on? So that becomes a tricky aspect that we need to deal with. And to work with the same, we will go and familiarize ourselves with the array variable. So if I can go back and take us back into Excel, if you remember, we had gone and earlier played with Excel also, and within Excel we have a big list of options. So I've just gone and opened Excel, and within Excel, as you can see, I've got this some rows and some columns. An objective over here is to be able to pick up these rows of data over here. So we are just interested in picking up these rows. We are not interested in picking up the header over here. Just these rows of information is what we need to pick up over here. So we will see how we can read the contents of an Excel file using array. That is basically going to be the purpose of this demonstration at hand. And this basically means we are going to be reading from row from cell A2 to cell B6. A2 to B6, that's the going to be our range of data over which we are going to be iterating over. In case you look at Excel also, and if you want to work with Excel, if you want to pick up the value of any particular Excel cell also, we need to be aware of two things. We need to be aware of the column number and we need to be aware of the row number. So both these pieces of information are required, and which is basically something that we are going to be required to provide for our array also. So here comes into picture another variable that we have at our disposal, and that is the counter variable. So the counter variable is a system defined variable. So whenever we are going and iterating over a set of rows, so for example, I'm in the first row, then the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth. So whenever you are going over any particular row at that point of time, the array variable, the counter variable, excuse me, keeps a track of which iteration you are on. So when I'm reading, let's say I'm reading over this particular, set of data rows from this Excel sheet. So when I'm the first row, as in row number 2 over here, presuming that my range is from A2 to B6, so my first row would become the row with ABCD, second row would be DEFG, and so on and so forth. So in that case, when I'm on ABCD, the value of my system defined variable, which is counter variable, is going to be 1. When I come to the second one over here, as in row number 3, it becomes 2, then 3, and so on and so forth. So this is how we can go and keep a track of which iteration we are on using the concept of counter variables. So counter variables, useful in this context, allow us to keep a track of which row we are on, and helping us stay on top of things. So we will use the same array variable here also. So as like I said, when we are going over the set of rows within the array, the columns we would already pre-decide and they would not change. What changes as we go from the top to bottom is the row number. So when in the first row, counter is going to be 1, second row, counter is going to be 2, next row, counter is going to be 3, and so on and so forth. So that is how our array can be iterated through by using the counter variable to keep a track of which row we are on, and the column number, obviously we will always have it prefixed so that we have the knowledge of the columns over which you want to iterate when in advance with us. So I'm going to go and let this be, and we are going to iterate over this set of data, like I said, from cell A2 to cell B6. That is our range. So I'm going to say select read from Excel, and which is the Excel file in perspective. I need to go and point that out. So inside Excel we have text to Excel.xlsx. Range is going to be cell A2, A2 to B6. That's going to be the range over which we wish to iterate. So this is going to help us understand the subject of arrays. More importantly, it has certain benefits also, it has certain limitations also, which we will talk about in a moment's time. The benefits would be when you otherwise try to open Excel sheet and iterate over it, it opens the Excel spreadsheet in the background. But when we will be reading through the Excel sheet using our array approach, the Excel sheet will not open in the background. So that's going to be one of the first benefits. The second benefit would be that as soon as this script is created, as soon as this start running this script, this variable will get populated with the contents of this Excel sheet. So the whole Excel sheet, as per our range, would get loaded inside this array variable, and the subsequent read operation will be happening from memory. So here we are talking about reading information from memory as such. So and reading from memory is always faster than reading from a hard disk. So that is going to be the second benefit over here, as I would say. The limitations, if there are benefits, there are limitations too. The limitations are that this approach can only work if your spreadsheet from which you have to pick up the data is sheet 1. If it is sheet 2, sheet 3, that cannot work. Obviously, you can, for the sake of data performance boost, take the data from any other XYZ sheet and make it sheet 1 for that reason. But otherwise, by default, it's only going to be sheet 1. So that is how it usually works. So let's go and have a look over here. So what I'm going to do is, we are so first of all I need to loop. So I have given my range as A2 to B6. That's 5 rows of data. So loop it is ABCDS loop. and loop it was and this time we will say loop number of times, and there are 5 rows of data, so I can specify that it is going to be 5 rows. Now kindly note, for arrays also you can pick up the number of rows and columns. There are 2 variables. Array names, array rows gives me the number of rows within an array. Array columns gives me the number of columns within an array, so you can use that also. For the time being, we will hard code this value as in 5 times, because between A2 to B6, that's 5 rows of data. And here we would like to go and display the values for both the columns as we iterate over it. So I've just taken a loop 5 times for the 5 rows of data over which we wish to go over. Message to be displayed, so we want to display both the columns as we iterate over them row by row. So I'm going to say F2 array. Row number, like I said, will be given by the counter variable, keeps a track of which row you're on. Column number, in case you're on the first column number is 1, second column number is 2, so it's like that. So column value is 1 for the first one, then comma, again F2, again you choose array. Row value is again counter variable, and column value is 2. So those are our 2 columns over which you wish to iterate within this array. I'm going to go and save it. Say it from the top, give it a name as array variable, and I'm going to go and save it. And let's go and run the script and see what happens. So we are going and running it. So that's the first row of data, ABCD 10, second, third, fourth, fifth. So that's how you can go and iterate over a file after having picked up the content of the file inside an array and then running over it. Now what we will try to do now is we will try to build on top of this script. What we will do is we will try to make this script more interesting by trying to substitute this counter variable with our own custom counter variable. So let's try to do that also to make this thing all the more interesting. So what I will do is I'm going to go and click on add, and I am trying to create my own custom counter variable. So the system defined counter variable is one which is already automatically maintained, manipulated by the system. But the custom counter variable that we are going to be creating is something that we are going to create, we are going to manipulate, and we are going to be going and managing it from A to Z, as I would say. So I create a custom counter variable, give it an initial value as Z, and we save it. So that is our custom counter variable. So what we will do is we'll go inside our message box and we will remove this counter variable. So counter variable gone, and instead of the counter variable I am bringing in my custom counter variable. And similarly for this second column also we will go and bring in our custom counter variable. So that's 2 changes that we have affected in this operation, and we are going to go and save it. If I go and run it, we will see it's going to get stuck in the first row only. It won't go ahead, and we will discuss in a moment that why it is so. So message box coming in. Let me go check. You can see the first row first time, first row second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time. So that is our custom counter variable, and as you can see, it was stuck on the first row itself. It never went from the first to the second to the third to the fourth to the fifth. So that movement is not happening. The system defined counter variable was self incrementing and things like that, but that is not the case in this custom counter variable. So we will have to make it go ahead with every iteration, and for that we will bring in a variable operation command, and as a variable operation I want to say custom counter is equal to custom counter plus 1. So we have said that custom counter variable is equal to custom counter plus 1. So that's the change that we have effected. We brought in one more line of code, and now it will be able to successfully go from one particular row to another, and that is just what we wanted. And you can see first row, second, third, fourth, fifth. That's just what we wanted. Now what we will do is we will try to make it all the more interesting by also trying to study some aspects of the looping variable, looping command. So what I'll do is I'll drag a if else variable command over here, and I am going to go and say let's go and check the value of the custom counter. I'm saying if custom counter is equal to, let's say, 2. So if custom counter is 2, then what we want to do is we want to display the value of the message box, wherein we are going and saying something like custom counter is equal to 2. We are continuing our loop. We are continuing our loop. So we are saying if custom counter is 2, we are going in a continue statement. The continue statement, as we know, is something generic to the loop. It takes you whenever the software encounters a continue statement, which I will bring in by going inside the loop and the continue loop command, which I'm going to go and position over here. So whenever the software encounters this continue loop statement, it takes us directly from here to the next iteration, ignoring these remainder rows. So continue will take you directly from this spot to your next iteration, ignoring these rows over here, and that will have certain repercussions. It has certain benefits also. A typical area where you might want to use this is maybe that I'm checking for record types A within a particular Excel or a database or some other surface where I've got a series of records, and our area of concern is maybe only records of type A. If I encounter a record of type B which we do not want to process, we can just say continue and go into the next iteration. So we ignore that record and jump to the next record as such by continuing directly from here to the next spot. But the problem with this approach over here would be if I run it directly, it will run for the first time, it will show me this one. Next time when it comes, counter is 2, it will show me this message box and continue. Once it continues from here, next time when it comes in, again custom counter is 2, again custom counter is 2, and then again 2, and last but not the least again 2. So this is going to be the effect of the custom counter of the continue statement, that it does not need to the execution of the statements below, because of which in this particular scenario the variable operation command that follows does not get executed, and that leads to the control jumping over to the getting stuck at line number 2 itself. So first time it comes over here, second time when it comes, it goes inside this if and if, does a continue. Next time when it comes, because continue takes directly from here to here, this increment operation does not happen, and for the remaining 4 iteration also it will get stuck at this particular inside this particular if and if only. So to make it go forward, what we will do is we will take this variable operation command and we will paste it over here. Now it will yield us the desired results. So we have positioned a variable operation command before the continue statement, so that before it continues, it jumps to the next value. Now first time first, second time it has gone inside this box, and now third time it is showing me this, fourth time again it is showing me this, and fifth time again it is showing me this, and we are done. So that is custom counter 2, and we will also go and maybe add one more box over here, as in one more condition, where we will say if custom counter is equal to 4, in which case we will say, in this case we will exit our loop. We are exiting our loop, and the command over here will change from continue loop. We will go and probably this 2 lines can go. Instead of this one, we will go and say exit loop. So exit loop is going to just go and throw me out of this loop over here. So if it is 4, it will say message box custom counter is 4. We are exiting our loop. It will hit this exit loop statement. The exit loop statement causes us to go immediately out of the, from this spot itself. It will throw us out of the loop, and the next line immediately after that end loop statement will get executed. So after this end loop, I can go and say I am after the end loop statement, and now after the end loop statement, and now I will execute. So what will happen? First time it comes, throws me this value, increments, goes to choice 2 next time, where it shows me this message. Then the value of custom counter again increases, comes next time with custom counter as 3, shows us this value, again iterates, comes down with custom counter as 4, where it displays this box, and then it encounters an exit loop, because of which it is thrown out of this loop, and then the next line immediately following the loop is executed. So exit loop is good in case based on some condition, which in our case is that the value of custom counter is 4, you want to be immediately out of the loop. So we are running this. So that's the first line. This is custom counter 2, this one. Third time again we are here. Fourth time we are inside this statement, and our exit loop throws us out of the loop, and then you can see this last message box getting executed, and that is exit loop. So we saw continue loop, which takes us to the next iteration from that point inwards, ignoring the remaining lines. Exit loop causing us to be thrown out of the loop, and the next line immediately after the end loop statement gets executed. So that's something about the exit loop statement. And last but not the least, what I would also like to showcase over here is something about the stop task command. So just to quickly bring us on board, that what's the difference between this exit loop statement and the stop task. Now stop task brings our script to a full grand halt, come to a total closure. So in case based on certain situations, certain criteria which might manifest in a script, if we want to totally shut down our script at that spot itself, we have the stop task command. So now if I go and run this, I'm going and running it. That's this line, first one. Custom counter is 2. Second one. Third one was third iteration is this one. In fourth iteration it comes, and you can see custom counter is 4. We are exiting a loop. It will then encounter the stop task command, and notice this time this message box will not get displayed. So I click on it, and notice this time the message box did not come. That is something about our stop task command. vis-a-vis the difference I wanted to showcase with respect to the exit loop statement. So this is how the exit loop varies from the stop task. Both can lead to immediate termination of the loop. One throws you to the next line following it. The other kills the script altogether at that spot itself. So this way you can go and work with the array variable. We also saw something about creating a custom counter. We also saw about a continue loop statement. We also saw exit loop statement, and we also took in a moment to take in the stop task command. So these are a couple of things that we also did in this demonstration to make it all the more wholesome. So that was something about the array variable, which I just wanted to bring all of us on board on. And now I'm going to go and close this. And proceeding with the next variable at hand, which is going to be our list variable. So I'm going to go back inside our good old task editor, and we will talk about the list variable now and come to grips with the same. So once again, going back inside our task editor, I click on add and I choose list over here, and I'm going to give a name to my variable as list only. You can give it anything for that reason. So list is basically, it's like a single set of values across, one single dimensional column. You can have multiple rows, but one single column, as I would say. So let's say I want to add some values. First value is 100. You can both add values as well as make it point to some text file. We will see both the approaches. So as you can see, values can be mixed in nature if you wish to. I'm just deliberately giving one numeric and one string value to showcase the same. So I've created a list variable by the name of list, and I've just added some set of values to it. So this is where I'm hard coding those values. And now if I wish to iterate over these values, I will have to go inside my loop variable, and the loop variable, we have a variable type list, which we are going to call. So we call this list variable. So we have a loop of type list within which we are calling our list variable only. And here we are just putting in a message box wherein we are displaying the value of this list variable. So I'm going to go and say list, and we save it. So we are calling our list variable, which is by the name of list only, as a matter of fact. And here inside this, we are showing the value of the list variable as such. We go and save it, give it a name. A good name would be the list variable as such, and we save it. And now if I go and run it, I should be able to see the values of my list variable bumping across my screen, and this is just what we wanted. So there we go about running it. So you can see first value is 100. So you have ABC, 200, DF, and then 300. So you can see you have a mixed bag of values, I would say. We had both numbers and alphabets to cater to this time. Again, if you want, over here also you can assign some values to this variable using variable operation. So I'm going to say, for example, to my list variable, you can reinitialize the whole list for that reason, but the number of elements cannot be more than the values already defined. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. So you can have a maximum of 5 elements, but not more than that. So let's say I say my list variable. So for example, for position number 2, I'm going to assign the value as 250, and I go and save it. And then maybe I again take a variable operation, and I go and say for list variable, for position number 5, value I'm assigning is maybe 5ABC, some dummy value. And now let me go and run through this list variable again. So idea is to just study the effect of these changes. So now if I go and run it from here, so you should see the second element should be 250 this time, as opposed to ABC, which we can see hard coded over here. So that will be the first change that we will notice. First value is 100. It's already 100. Second value is 250, as you can see. We assigned the second element as 250. So it is showing me 250 as against ABC, which was earlier hard coded, and so on and so forth. So that's the list variable which we were again reinitializing, and certain values this time, not the entire list variable but certain aspects of it. And then what we would like to also further see over here is that how, if you have some list of elements, so what I have with me is a list of elements which lies on this text file. So I can see in this text document I have a list of elements. So for example, I have products is equal to product 1, product 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then elements is equal to element 1, element 2, element 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have two lists over here, as I can see, and let's say the objective was to iterate over the first list or the second one using a list variable. So how we can do that? So let's go and get ourselves familiarized with that. So to that effect, what I will do is I will click on add. I will create another list variable as list, and this time, since the objective is to pick up a certain list of elements, I need to have the same name to my list variable as the list label on the left hand side of this equality symbol over here. So if you wanted to pick up product 1 to 7, we will pick up products. If you want to pick up element 1 to 7, you can pick up elements. So products I will pick up. So name of this list is products. List value, so I'm going to say this time read from text file. So we'll directly pick up the value from the text file that we have, which we were just opening, this one over here. And this is right at this spot, list.txt, and I go and save it. So once I've done that, I'm pointing to that list in perspective. And now what we wish to do is we will go inside our loop. We will drag a list variable over here, and the variable that we want to go and work with is products. So we can see, we have a loop list variable product. And now what you'd like to do is we could like to display the values which exist inside this list variable product. So I'm going to say F2, pick up the products list and save it. And what do we think is going to get displayed once we call this one? It should display us these values, product 1 to product 7. So I'm going to do a right click right over here and run from this step, and that should show me these values, product 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is precisely what we wanted. So that's product 1, product 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's us going through a list variable, iterating over its contents. This is just what we wanted. That is our list variable. What else do we need over here? So one thing which you would like to go and showcase now is the random variable. So sometime we may be in a need of generating some dummy data, or maybe I have some application in which I need to provide in some strings with a predefined length, or maybe I have application in which I need to give in some numbers between upper and lower limit range. In that case, the random variables could be very useful in that particular context. So let us go and talk about random variables. So I click on add over here, and I am going to go and create my random variable this time. So I say random. So I have two variables or type that I can create over here, which is one is a random string, which as the name indicates gives me a random string of a predefined length. So I'm going to say random string, let's have 7 characters. So every time I call this variable, it will throw some new value of type string on my screen. That's my random string variable. The other variable which I would like to go and get us on board, other subtype, within my random variable type is the random number. So random string and random number, two variable types that we have. So random number, I'm saying I want a number between the limits of 10 to 40. So it will give me some random number between this range of 10 to 40. So that's the second random type number, that random type variable that we have created. The former good for creating a string of this predefined length. So every time you call this, it will give you a string of any random combination of 7 characters. The second variable that is currently under the process of being created, generates any number between 10 and 40, both inclusive by the way, and gives us some value. So that's the random number that we are trying to generate. So both variable types very useful, because in a situation where you wanted some dummy data to be generated, you can use the random string type over there. In case you want a value within a given range, within upper, low and lower limit to be generated, you can use the random number type over there. So this is something about the random variables. And now I'm going to go and save this one, and that kind of goes and generates these creates these random variables. Time to now go and use the same, both of them, in a quick demonstration of ours, so that we can actually see them happening in action, as I would say. So for the purpose of the same, what I will do is I will take a loop, and we will say 5 times. So we are creating a loop of 5 times, and in this loop we are going to put a message box wherein we are generating both our random string and random numbers. So random string will generate a random string of x many characters, and the second is a random number of a given range, upper and lower limit as specified by us, between 10 to 40. A random string, any string, random combination of 7 characters by which it will create a string and give it to us. So let me go and save this one, give it a name, and this would be our random variables. So we go and save this one, and time to now go and run the script and see what happens, and we should then be able to reap the results of our efforts, as I would say. It's time to go and run it, and if all goes well, we should have some of 5 combination of random strings and random numbers getting thrown on our screens. And there we go, some combination of 7 characters, a random number between 10 and 40, 1 down, 2nd down, 3rd down, 4th down, 5th down, and that's just what we wanted. So that was something about the variable types. We talked about the array variables, we talked about the list variables, and last but not the least, we just went to the random variables. Different kind of variables which are pretty much useful in different contexts, and depending on our requirement, we may choose to use any of the same. So I hope this particular aspect is also clear to all of us. So until we meet again, thank you.